Councillors, it has just gone 4 o'clock, so if we could ready ourselves. Councillors, staff, members of the gallery, welcome to this ordinary council meeting of Armidale Regional Council of 14 December 2022. Could I call upon Councillor Galletley to make the civic affirmation?
We, the Council of Armidale Region, declare that we will undertake the duties of the office of the council in the best interest of our community and faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in us to the best of our skills and judgment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Galletley. And Councillor Mepham, the acknowledgement of country, please.
We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. The Armidale Regional community pays tribute to their love of land, love of people and love of culture.
Thank you, Councillor Mepham. And could I call upon the General Manager to make a statement regarding live streaming?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This meeting is being audio and video recorded, and the recordings of the non-confidential parts of the meeting will be made available on the internet. No other persons are permitted to record the meeting unless specifically authorised by council to do so. And could all mobile phones please be turned to silent? Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr General Manager. Councillors, I have not received any apologies or requests for leave of absence, and I'm thrilled to note that you are all here. Next one is disclosure of interest. So having reviewed the agenda, do any councillors need to declare a conflict of interest? Councillor Packham.
Mr Mayor, I would like to declare a non-procuring, non-significant conflict of interest in item 15.5 of the confidential session.
Thank you. Noted. Councillors, at item 5.1, the minutes of the previous meeting, so the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held on the 23rd of November 2022. Given you've had an opportunity to review them, can I call for a mover for those minutes? Thank you, Councillor McMichael, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Redwood. Any discussion, Councillor McMichael? Councillor Redwood? Let's put it to a vote then, shall we? All those in favour of adopting the minutes? Thank you. I'll declare that carried unanimously. Councillors, we have in this open session, we have one mayoral minute, and this is in relation to the purchase of the Oakey Hydro scheme as an additional water source for the Armidale region. So this acquisition is the final piece in the water security jigsaw puzzle that and is the preferred option for a secondary water source, with council staff and public works having explored over 40 options. Oakey Dam is essential for a number of reasons, and key among them is it gives us the headroom to meet our population growth targets and provide industry with confidence that our region can grow. It also provides the necessary security for when drought inevitably hits and can be used as a regional water source. So outside of our Armidale region, it becomes an option for Uralla as well. And thirdly, it mitigates the water security risk that will arise when the level of Malpas Dam has to be lowered to below 50% for the wall raising to take place. So whilst Oakey is a strategic acquisition, the timing is something that was a little out of our control. Now, as you're all aware, Essential Energy put the dam up for sale with a very tight window for inspection, valuations and submissions of the offers. Armidale Regional Council was not the only horse in the race, but our offer was considered sufficiently compelling for us to be the preferred tenderer. The consequences of missing out on this acquisition would reverberate throughout this region for generations to come. It should also be noted that there is a 180-day settlement period that we've requested. This time will be used to lobby for funding for the acquisition, the reinstatement of the wall and the construction of the pipeline. I would also like to acknowledge the significant amount of work undertaken in a very tight time frame by a number of staff, particularly Alex Manners and Mark Byrne. Without their efforts, we would not be in this enviable position. So on that note, as Chair, I like to move this mayoral minute. I'd like to call for a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Redwood. I've had my say on it. Councillor Redwood, is there anything you wish to say on this mayoral minute?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Well, first, I agree with what you've said in summary. It is as you said, a very important strategic part of the puzzle. And whilst I appreciate the speakers that we had earlier, with their concerns, there is it's of critical importance for us as a region to have the security of water to be able to not only furnish our current population with sufficient supply, but also a future population as well, including industries that may require more water than the current ones. So, from my perspective, it's an excellent opportunity.
Thank you, Councillor Redwood. Councillor O'Connor.
It has come very quickly, and it would appear that, I just actually want to ask a few points of clarification. And one is the final cost to supply, has that been estimated at all?
To supply water?
Well, what we're acquiring for $4.5 million is a damaged piece of infrastructure, which will immediately go onto our books at its purchase value, presumably, and we'll be paying for it in terms of depreciation from the day dot. So, and I apologise if this is in the fine print. We've only been given 2 weeks, basically, to get through another month's reading, which is not sufficient for me, given that this is a part-time position. So is there a final time frame? And I'm a little bit disturbed when you say that we'll need Oakey to be completed before we can do the works on lowering the dam level, which I think was a bit of a surprise to most people when, in the community at least, in relation to the augmentation of the Malpas Dam water supply, which is our primary water supply. So the question is there a final time frame? Is there a final price for the supply?
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. I'll actually defer to a Chief Officer. Councillor Robinson, can you? Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. For a time frame, here's probably the easiest question to answer first. The time frame for acquiring the dam essentially provides us,
But with respect to the point of supply of water to the Armidale community.
The time frame that we know of at the moment is the time frame for acquisition is the only time frame that is cemented at this time. Does that satisfactorily answer the question?
Because we've got, that's just the acquisition, but the acquisition comes at substantial risk at this point.
Mr. Inman, the answer to both questions is no.
Thanks. The two questions, the second one was cost.
The other one was cost.
The answer is also no.
The answer is also no, we don't have a cost.
Thank you. Councillor Robinson.
Yeah, well, I did want to ask some questions and I want to say something afterwards, but maybe Councillor Withers wants to speak before me, so I'll just ask the questions first. And the first question really is one that's really been puzzled.
Just to be Councillor Robinson, before you go down that path, you really only get one pass at this.
Oh, well, I can speak as well. If questions, I thought questions under the Code of Meeting Practice didn't count, but okay,
I'm sure if you make your statements and then ask your questions,
ask the questions. And I've got 4 questions basically. One is puzzling about how PWA calculated their modelling, and particularly the modelling of the demand. For example, we know that current demand's less than half what PWA says we should need, and I presume that is because they've modelled the demand on, the driest year in maybe 1,000 years, or the driest year in 100 years, or the driest year in 10 years. Can you tell me on what sort of typical year the demand was modelled, because it obviously bears no relationship to current usage.
You able to answer that one?
I'll take that question.
I think that's best. So that question will be taken on notice.
Yeah.
I know this has been addressed in previous gatherings.
And I had a few other questions. Just my computer's gone funny at the minute. So let's see if I can find them. The next. Or can I let Councillor Widders speak, since you want to speak, and then I'll find my questions.
I will allow that, Councillor Robinson, in the spirit of which you want it to happen. So, Councillor Widders.
I suppose just want to thank the speakers earlier on for their comments. I agree with some of the sentiments that was spoken there, especially around the use of recycling the water and stuff like that. As Mr. Menace spoke, though, maybe that's something that it's not off the table. It's something we can look at down the future around things like that. So I haven't read anything where it's been said, no, we'll never do that. So it's something that may come along further along the lines. The time frame thing shouldn't be an issue. We've known since the drought of 4 or 5 years ago that water security and water storage was going to be an issue. I know in this term, this acquisition or looking at our water safety and security has been on the agenda for the 12 months that we've been put in. So that really shouldn't really be an issue, and we've been briefed a little bit about what this proposal was like. Maybe again it's one of these things where I've read it somewhere else and decided to bring it here, but I'm sure we have been briefed on it. So the concerns that some people have raised I think should have already been answered mostly by some of the information that we've already received over the last 12 months. The community has, or a majority of the community has, really expressed their concerns about water safety and security. And I like the fact that this could, in desperate times, help provide neighbouring council regions with water security as well. I know that when we were low, there was talk to try and pipe from Copeton Dam. And if that, again, would be a very costly exercise if the situation come to that, not only for us, but also for our neighbouring council regions. So providing a little bit closer to home security in regards to that, I think is a good idea. I really want to, again, echo the Mayor's thoughts and the sentiments about the work the staff have put in for this. As I said, it's been not just a recent idea, it's been something that's been ongoing for a couple of years. So well done to them and to all those that have really worked hard to provide something that has been, and I'm pretty sure most of us run last year about providing water security. It has been a fairly hot button topic. So as I mentioned, it's been a whole council initiative from the staff down to the councillors running and seeing it as a priority. So well done to everyone, and let's get this started and working towards that safer future for everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Widders. Councillor Robinson, are you back on track technologically?
Yes, I'm back on track. Well, I had a few brief questions, and one was obviously, has PWA produced a document explaining their calculations? The next one was Armadale's adopted drought management strategy has a target of 200 litres per person per day. And I just wondered how this fitted in with PWA's calculations. The third question was the recommendation asks us to note the commercial in confidence valuation report. And my question was, assuming this all goes through, is there any reason, and once we've signed off on the contract and we bought the dam, is there any reason why that report should still remain commercial in confidence, or will it be available to the public? And my fourth question was, just one about the water fund. We've got 29.6 million in the water fund. And is that before or after expenditure on the Puddle Dock pipeline and strengthening Dumarick Dam? And if the former, what will the reserve be after the expenditure has been completed? Now, if those are all going to be taken on notice, can I have a quick, brief talk as well? Or do you want to answer the questions first?
I think if the Chief Officer and perhaps Finance, the CFO, can answer any of those, then we'll let them answer it. Otherwise, they'll become questions on notice. So, Chief Officer Manners, are you good for the questions? Or the ones you can?
I'll take a few actually, yeah.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor. With regards to the first question, did PWA produce a report? Yes, there was a report produced. Sorry, can you clarify question 2 after I've answered the following 2? Question 3 was the recommendation included a report that was in commercial in confidence. At any time that we release that report could provide commercial advantage to the competitors of the people who provided that particular report. It will always remain a confidential document for consideration by the councillors alone. And with regards to the $29.6 million, that is the current balance of our water fund, our water reserve. So the proposed transaction of $4.5 million and transfer out of the reserves will come from that value.
We've already spent all the money we needed to spend on Puddle Dock and Dumarick Dam. That was really what I was asking for. So we don't expect any further reductions because of those projects which are underway.
Specifically, Dumarick Dam has now completed, so there is no further costs associated with that particular project. As Puddle Dock is currently under construction, it is very difficult for me to say yes or no because there's always a risk that a project will go over. I can provide an update, however, that the project is currently within budget and on track.
Not included in the 29.6 million. Thank you. And then I'll just briefly say my thoughts on this because I'm kind of concerned about being forced to approve something without consulting the community on their preferences. And I still have questions in my mind. For example, what difference would it make if the demand calculations, if, for example, able-bodied residents were prepared not to water gardens during the heat of the day, say 1 year in 10? Because I'm assuming that this water will only be needed maybe 1 year in 10 or 1 year in 20, and the rest of the time we'll be perfectly happy with Malpas Dam. And I was also really struggling to understand facts on the costs, benefits, revenue and willingness to pay. And the thing that comes to my mind is that if we were actually to use the demand that PWA says we currently need and water charges remain the same, then every user in Armadale and Gowrie would have to be paying double what they're currently paying for the water. And I'm just wondering how many people could afford that, because it's really something similar, an increase in water charges, similar in magnitude to what we're having to pay for the 58% SRV. And obviously, I'm still concerned a little bit about the 4.5 million for Oakey Dam, because that works out at $450 for every household connected to the water supply, which is really similar to the additional costs of the SRV for a year. And of course, that's just a drop in the ocean compared with the full cost of the proposals. But I do believe that ARC, if we've made a firm and final offer, then we have to honour our commitment. But at the same time, you've got a problem if you do, and you've a problem if you don't. So, my choice might be not to exercise vote on this and leave the chamber. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Councillors, any further comments? Councillor Packham?
Yeah, why not? I long advocated that water is life. Everyone around here understands that water is life. Securing water and securing a second catchment for this region is paramount to our success and to our long-term survival. There's no price on that. When the New South Wales State Government can pay $700 to $1 billion for a football stadium in the city for their quality of life,
I don't understand, and yet no one said, well, we're paying for all this yet. We haven't petitioned or lobbied for that. That we shouldn't be have an asset that's worthy of our amenity and our quality of life. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Councillor O'Brien.
I really support this, particularly the idea that, but I love the idea of that we have an asset like this in public hands, so that really fits in with my idea about the kind of security we should have. I'd be a hypocrite if I wasn't a little bit concerned about how we communicate with the public or how we engage the public with this a bit more. And I mean, I don't know what we can do, but I do believe that we need to maybe have a meeting with the public and answer questions or take on board what they're saying. We need to perhaps communicate with this a bit more, because I don't know if we can make a decision this big if some people and if we're leaving people behind is what I'm saying. So I have those sort of doubts, but I support the acquisition definitely. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Councillor O'Connor, your light's on. You're saying you made questions before?
Yeah, basically, I think I pretty much feel the same way as all the people that have spoken. I mean, I recognise $4.5 million in itself for a large asset like this is even a damaged asset, which it definitely is. You know, in some contexts, it's not a lot of money and we should grab the opportunity. I can really see that. But we've got no idea of the final price or the time frame. The other thing is we have not taken, this is the total picture is likely to have quite a big impact on the hip pockets of our community. I really don't feel that the amount of information we have at the moment, notwithstanding I understand the causes for that and the difficulty of the time frame that's been imposed by the vendor, what I would like to do, I think, is just ask if we could accede to the forum request for an urgent community meeting to discuss this with our community, because there are implications. And I note that Section 232 of the Local Government Act imposes on me an obligation to communicate effectively with the community. I think that's E, subsection E. And so is there some way, I mean, we're being asked to make a decision very early in the life cycle of this, in the life rather, of this project. Can we not please undertake to engage with our community on this? You know, the whole water issue, we have not had a water forum. I think at the last meeting we made a decision which I supported, given an assurance that there would be a consultation during the integrated water cycle project, that there would be extensive consultation with the community. Now we're making, you know, albeit 180-day settlement period, we're making a big financial commitment, because it's not the 4.5. I don't care about that much. I care about it a bit, but I do care about the total cost and whether it's sustainable, economically sustainable. So I'm asking in the strongest terms possible that there is a commitment from you, Mr Mayor, and from the organisation of council to have an urgent forum with our community on this issue as requested by the forum speakers.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. Given your question was in some way directed to me, the commercial realities are, if we don't agree to this, we will lose the dam. We are not the only people who have bid for it, and there's other commercial in confidence things I cannot say in this forum, but I know that if we don't get it, someone else will. And we cannot lose sight of that reality. What we probably have is this is the first step in a three-step process, and if we don't secure this dam in the first step, steps 2 and 3 are moot. 2 being to repair the wall, 3 being to pipe it. Now, there are some indicative costs done for that, and I think the wall repair was in the region of $8 to $16 million. The piping was a sniff under $100 million. Now, clearly, in both those cases, we would not be paying for it. Well, certainly not 100%, because as you know as well as I do, we can't afford it. but there are various government instruments, various government grants that are specific for that purpose, as you well know, and that's the approach that we would take. We have to be, sensible about this. But as it's the preferred option, and it has been extensively socialised throughout the community and within our forum, just what the water options have been. So it's not something that's been put on it. So I can't make any commitment or beyond a certain acknowledgement. If we don't secure it, if we don't vote for it today, it'll be out of our hands by tomorrow. Councillor. Sorry, we might just let Councillor O'Connor finish her. It was a question to me, and it was prefaced with respect. So I look forward to this.
It is with great respect. That is not responsive to my question, which was acknowledging exactly what you replied, which is the commercial corner that we're in, but nevertheless asking for some indication from you, Mr. Mayor, for accession to the request for community consultation or community forum soon, so that we bring the community with us on this, at this stage somewhat heroic journey.
I'm always happy to be heroic, Councillor O'Connor. I won't make any commitment in that regard. I'd like to consult with my colleagues on anything like that and just go through a due process as best we can. Thank you. Councillor Galletley. Oh, sorry, Councillor Galletley.
Just taking all of this on here, I might be wrong, but I think we voted unanimously back in March to take this project on. I could be wrong, but I think I've got that down there. There's a couple of different things that I'm going to put up to answer to some of the questions that's gone here. I don't know. In my lifetime, I haven't had too many guarantees in anything that I've taken on, but you take it on and you have a crack at it. We've been voted in as leaders here to make a decision. This is in very, very early stages here with this. There's an opportunity not just for water here, but for also green energy to be coming out of the hydro system if it comes down the track, and we can get money for that. Some of these councillors want guarantees. I don't know where you get these guarantees from. I don't think it's very risky at all, the whole thing. I think it's essential we do it.
Thank you, Councillor Galletley. Councillor McMichael, you had your light on.
As much as I appreciate that public forums are important and that we need to, speak to everybody, I think sometimes that as a group we have to make decisions, and I would really appreciate that we had more time to do stuff, but I think sometimes we have to make the decision and say yes or say no and make a decision. I think we should do that today.
Thank you, Councillor McMichael. Well, councillors, if there's no further comments, and I know Councillor Robinson is exiting the chamber, let's put this to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? I declare the motion carried 9-1. 9-2. Oh, sorry, I missed. Thank you. As my learned colleagues have pointed out, an abstention is a no. All right. Thank you, councillors. At the 7 section, I note that there are no notices of motion, so we'll go through to 8.1. So 8.1 is the public exhibition of the revised delivery program and resourcing strategy. So Council is being asked to endorse a number of documents for public exhibition that have been amended as a result of the resolution to apply to IPART for a 50% special rate variation. Details of this are on page 15 of the agenda and 29 of the attachments. There is a recommendation on the screen. It's quite detailed. Can I call for a mover? Thank you, Councillor Witters, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Gadders. Councillor Witters, anything to say?
Only that if the community just takes notes that I think a couple of meetings ago we put some of these out for community consultation before we did vote for the SRV in the last meeting. So if you've seen something, if you have a look at these and you see something similar before, that's why. As the Mayor stated, that the adjustments and the changes for the SRV are now in there. So have another good look at it. Go over it with a fine-tooth comb if you feel like to do so, and send in your thoughts and comments so that we have those when the decision comes back to make on these.
Thank you, Councillor Witters. Councillor Gadders.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll keep it sweet. So basically, there is obviously a lot of work that the staff put into these documents. So I really appreciate that these have taken the update after our SRV adoption. Just for those members of the public, that as Councillor Witters is suggesting, take the opportunity to reread. But if you would like the cheat sheet, if you look at the council business papers on page 16 and 17, it points specifically to the updates. That might be the fast path. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gadders. We are all richer for your searing insights. Councillor Robinson.
Thank you. Yeah, I hate the idea that any possible consultation should be a tick box exercise. And I hate it that some of the figures that I've been looking at don't seem to add up. And I also hate it that we're ignoring the fact that 66% of survey respondents in the previous survey on the SRV chose managed decline. They didn't choose the SRC. And so I hope that all those who are really concerned about this do actually take the time and trouble to respond again, and hope that this response will be at least as enthusiastic as the previous ones. Because in the previous survey, 66% supported 70% supported some worsening of road conditions, and 75% supported some decommissioning of community buildings. So it does suggest to me that some of our residents are having a hard time making ends meet. But I'm also not sure how much of this will be necessary if we successfully managed to lobby for the funding we need to remedy the problems we have with the roads. And as we discussed at the last meeting, the Australian Local Government Association has now joined with the Australian Road Research Board to call for an urgent rethink of road constructions, maintenance and funding, because of the cost of repairing our flood-damaged roads is now expected to be $3.8 billion. And billion, yeah, that's for the whole of Australia, because it's a national issue and we need a national funding solution to make our roads, and especially those in regional areas, more resilient to climate change. And if this happens, perhaps we won't need the entire SRV. And I'm also looking at the documents, and I'd like to point out some of the maintenance standards for the buildings and all the other things, like painting walls every 10 years, replacing cabinets and vinyl every 15 years, gyp rock every 40 years. And I'm just worried that some of our residents maybe can't afford to have their homes up to anything like this standard. And more importantly, I'm still looking at the current set of documents and I really can't actually see where the money is going. So maybe some of the community people who've been able to read this and scrutinise it a bit better than me might help me on this and might help have a discussion on this. Because I'd really like to know how much is essential or cosmetic. such as, well, should we be replacing 15-year-old cabinets that look as good as new? But life is life. I mean, we do need the community to keep on board with that. We have to put it on. There's no choice but to put this on to public consultation again. And I'll certainly be looking at a good response and a lot more information before I actually vote in favour of the final decision on the SRV. But at the moment, we have no choice. Let's put it on consultation and ask the community again what they think.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Councillor Redwood.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Agreeing with Councillor Witters, Councillor Gatters and also Councillor Robinson that I encourage our community to engage in the process of reviewing these documents. But just to Councillor Robinson's point, as I made at the last meeting where we voted for the SRV, 66% of approximately 300 people, which represents 1% of our population of our entire region, said no. That's actually not a lot of people. And we also said that, and that generally for this kind of exercise, you'll generally only get people coming in telling you that they don't like it rather than applauding you for what you're doing. I think I might have spoken to more than 66% of 300 people who have also told me that it's a great idea and just get on with it and do it. So I think we have to put it into perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Redwood. Councillor O'Connor.
Once again, this is really just a question. I understand the responses are due in at the end of January, and we'll be having a meeting at the end of January to deal with the responses and also vote on this all in the one event. Is that correct? All in the one meeting?
Sure. Very sure.
Yeah, that's correct, Councillor O'Connor. There will be an extraordinary meeting held at the end of January to go through these documents. I think it would be misleading, though, for me not to say to you that the decision to apply for an SRV has been made. Council made that decision at the last meeting. That won't be up for debate at the end of January. What will be up for debate at the end of January, or for being represented to Council for their consideration and adoption as part of the application, will be these documents and any amendments that are made based on community consultation. But to be really clear, the decision on an SRV has been made. Council is progressing with it.
Am I allowed to make a response to that?
Sure.
Yeah, look, I accept that, and I thank you for your candour, Mr. General Manager. What I would like to say and note is that there was considerable confusion around the 8th of June, which was the closing date for submissions on the IPNR suite of documents, which we then determined to accept, I guess, at the end of June. That confusion was around whether the 8th of June submissions were in relation to the SRV or just the IPNR, and it's curious that the IPNR documents now have to be amended in order to meet IPART's requirements. I don't want to make any more comment on that other than to say that I really do think that in the case of IPNR submissions, we actually need more time as a governing body to take on board the community response to the IPNR. And that does not happen under the current time frame that's been allowed. We basically get those submissions, they're presented to us at the same time as we have to make a decision whether to accept or reject. And the responses, come from staff to us rather than us as governing body being allowed to sort of formulate our own responses to the community submissions. And I think that is a long-term flaw in the IPNR process, which I just want to put that out in public. I think it is a deep flaw in the IPNR system, and it flows through to the SRV process as well.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. Well, with no more discussion, let's put that to a vote. All those in favour? I declare that carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. We now go to item 8.2, the appointment of the New South Wales Electoral Commissioner to administer council elections. So, this item, and I know a number of New South Wales councils have been considering this. But this item seeks council's approval to appoint the New South Wales Electoral Commissioner to administer all council elections, polls and referenda. Details are from page 20 of the agenda. Can I have a mover for that, please? Thank you, Councillor McMichael. And Councillor Robinson is a seconder. Anything you'd like to say, Councillor McMichael?
Just that the Commission, it's their primary job, and I think it's terrific that they can do it.
Thank you. Councillor Robinson?
It's a sensible decision.
Thanks. Any other councillors? Right, let's put it to a vote. All those in favour? Thank you, Councillor Meppen. I declare that carried unanimously. Item 8.3 is the Code of Conduct for adoption. So the Armidale Regional Council Code of Conduct has been on public exhibition for 28 days and no submissions were received. The recommendation is that this Code of Conduct now be adopted. Details are from page 23 of the agenda and page 605 of the attachments. Do I have a mover for the recommendation on the screen? Thanks, Councillor Witters, and Councillor Galletley as the seconder. Councillor Witters, anything you'd like to say?
Interesting, we didn't get any submissions on this. I would have thought a very concerned and learned community, after the dealings over the last couple of cycles, would have made sure they had their say, but that's good. It means that things are looking bright for this community and this council, that no one thought they needed to have a comment on it. Good to see it's here.
Thanks, Councillor Witters. Councillor Galletley?
No, and I think when you look back through the records, we're doing pretty well. I think there's only been one code of conduct so far this term, so I think we're doing pretty damn well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Packham.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I don't mean to anchor this out before some presumed ad break or something, but reading the report left me with a bit of a warm and fuzzy feeling at the end, moreover because of the conclusion, not so much for the report's content, but for the essence of its makeup. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank and make special mention and commend the author of the report, more specifically the conclusion, which presents an enlightening sense of worth to what our region and what its people represent. And inter alia, the report concludes that continuous review and enhancements of the Code of Conduct shapes council into the kind of place that is not only compliant, but it is close to its roots, the community and the people it serves. The Code of Conduct clearly states council's core values, guidelines and expectations. Mr Mayor, we've often debated here with our colleagues regulation and policy interchangeably. Few would deny the need for regulation, but we've not sufficiently challenged the cookie cutter good enough for 129 other council notion to satisfy the need for compliance with the OLG, meaning, often we're just here to get it in place because we've been told we have to have something in place. Indeed, as the author implied, it's policy where we enshrine our values, our story, our type of region and our circumstances and how we treat our people. And I thought it worthy of mention here today that we can have regulation to be compliant and have policy for the people of this region at the same time. And that's something I want to be part of as a leader amongst my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Packham. Right, councillors, if there are no further comments, let's put it to a vote to adopt this or otherwise. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. Item 8.4 is the Council Actions Report. So this is a report that summarises the actions taken on resolutions of Council for the period January to November 2022. Council is being asked to note this report with details from page 26 of the agenda and 641 of the attachments. Can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Redwood, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Gadders. Anything to say? Nothing there. Nothing there, Councillor Gadders. All right, let's put that to a vote. All those in favour of accepting? Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. Item 9.1 is the acquisition of 153 Rusden Street. So it's an acquisition opportunity that has arisen for council to acquire 2 lots of land in the CBD at a cost of $26,000. Details are from page 27 of the agenda. And I think I know who's going to move the recommendation on the screen is Councillor Robinson, and the seconder can be Councillor Redwood. Councillor Robinson.
Sounds like a very sensible idea, and it even sounds like a bargain at the price.
Excellent. Councillor Redwood.
I agree with Councillor Robinson twice today.
Noted. Any further discussion? No. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. Item 9.2 is refers to 48 Kurawatha Avenue. So this item has been back and forth in this chamber in an effort to alleviate the housing shortage in our region. So there is a recommendation on the screen that in essence is asking council to endorse the planning proposal to reduce the lot size and also to liaise with the Department of Planning as required. Do I have a mover for this? Thank you, Councillor O'Connor, and a seconder, Councillor Redwood. Councillor O'Connor, anything to say?
Nothing, just that, you know, we move onward and upward to actually provide sensible lot sizes to provide, well, sustainable and hopefully affordable housing for our community.
Thank you.
Just congratulate Mr Boyce and his team or the absent Mr Boyce and his team for their work and tenacity to get this over the line.
Thank you. All right, councillors, let's put this to a vote. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. Item 9.3 is the adoption of the Armidale Regional Council Section 7.12 Contributions Plan. So this item, if it becomes a resolution of council, will see the smaller communities in our region benefit from the developer contributions as opposed to the current model, which is linked to where the development actually takes place. So the proposed model will see greater equity through the region and should allow residents a voice in what needs to be done in their community. So this has been on public exhibition for a period of time and it's now up for adoption. So details are from page 36 of the agenda and 751 of the attachments. So there is a recommendation on the screen. Could I have a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor Packham. And Councillor O'Brien is the seconder. Councillor Packham.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you for your kind words. I think you accurately described the intention here is to broaden the, to share the love. I think it's very important that developers' contributions not be concentrated into necessarily the precinct in which they were generated, but are delivered to all. As we noted last time we deliberated on this, the option or the availability of this funding to improve the infrastructure for villages and outlying areas will strengthen the city in return and improve their amenity and their good fortune to be able to generate new housing lots, to be able to generate jobs in the outlying regions, to take the pressure off the centre, as well as enjoy some amenities, as long as, and as we had discussed, that this is not intended to be accessing another pool of funds to do general repairs and maintenance, to which we may not be able to afford from other general fund pools, but in fact to make something meaningful for the residents of those regions. And I applaud the motion and the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor O'Brien, anything to add as the seconder?
No, just like to see the capitalists pay. That's fantastic. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments or statements? All right, let's put it to a vote. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. Item 9.4 is the sale of a minor access denial strip. So this item is linked to a resolution of council from the October ordinary council meeting where council endorsed the sale of access denial strips at Tancredi Street. The neighbouring landholder is now seeking to purchase the entire denial strips located in Tancredi Street. So the details of this are from page 40 of the agenda. Can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Gadders, and a seconder. Thanks, Councillor Redwood. Councillor Gadders, anything to say?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just say another sensible outcome here. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Redwood. Any other councillors? Let's put it to a vote. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. Item 9.5 is the cash and investment report for the month of November 2022, where council is being asked to note the report. The details are from page 44 of the agenda. There's a recommendation on the screen. Thanks, Councillor Galletley as the mover, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor McMichael. Councillor Galletley, anything to say?
No, this is good. It's good that we've got a bit of a, well, for this particular part of it, not too many people would be agreeing, but now that we've got a few rates back and rates back as far as investing our money, and I think this is great, and there's really no risk in this at all. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Councillor McMichael.
Just thank you to the staff for preparing it and getting it together.
Yeah. All right, councillors, let's vote in order to note the report. All those in favour of noting it? Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. Councillors, we now go to item 10.1, which is the Armidale Regional Landfill Solar Panel RFQ. So this item is seeking support to engage a contractor to supply and install solar power and batteries at the landfill. So we're being asked to endorse a recommendation to award the contract to New England Solar and make appropriate financial delegations to the General Manager. I can't ignore you any longer, Councillor Robinson. I'm assuming you are moving it. And Councillor Gaddis is going to second that. Councillor Robinson, anything to say?
No, I've read the tender evaluations and I concur. And it's really nice to see something like this happen, especially for the landfill, which unfortunately is off grid, so there's not much of the solutions.
Thank you. Councillor Gaddis. Right. Councillors, if there's no further discussion, let's put this to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. Which takes us to item 12.1, the audit risk. These are the committee reports. So we have at 12.1, the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee, the minutes of the meeting held on the 22nd of November with details from page 55 of the agenda and 780 of the attachments. Can I call for a mover, please? Thank you. Councillor Widders and Councillor Redwood is seconding that. Anything to add, Widders? Councillor Widders, no. Anything, Councillor Redwood? All right. All those in favour of noting the minutes? Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. Item 12.2 is the New England Bushfire Management Committee, the minutes of the meeting held on the 9th of August 2022, where council is being asked to note those minutes. So details from page 58 of the agenda and 788 of the attachments. Can I have a mover for those? Thank you, Councillor Mepham, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor McMichael. Councillor Mepham, anything to add there?
Yeah, just to say this meeting primarily dealt with introducing us to the new bushfire risk management planning process, which will centre around complex algorithms rather than perceived local knowledge based on fire paths and stuff like that. So it should lead to more comprehensive mitigation strategies going forward.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, councillors, all those in favour of noting the minutes, thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. Councillors, I haven't received any matters of an urgent nature, but I don't wish to presume. So does anyone have any matters of an urgent nature to present? He does. Councillors, item 14.1. Question on notice. So council is being asked to note a response to the question on notice provided by Councillor Robinson in relation to the reported system and the inability to keep track of requests. Details from page 61 of the agenda. So Councillor Robinson, I'll ask you to move that and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor McMichael. Councillor Robinson.
Yeah, well, the reason for asking this question is that I believe this is one of the most important things we could do to improve resident satisfaction and improve efficiency. And I came across a good example of a member of senior staff spending several minutes on the phone to someone who might have been satisfied with an improved reported system. And all it would take is another column to advise residents what council is doing about the problem. And I would have thought that the resultant savings in time and effort would pay for themselves within a very, very short period of time. So yes, it's always going to be difficult and change is always going to be difficult. But let's hope in the near future we can chalk it down as something that will save money and improve efficiency and maybe reduce the amount we need to raise on the SRV. So thank you for noting it.
Terrific. Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Anyone else wish to comment? Let's put that to a vote. All those in favour of noting the response, I declare that carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. That ends the end, or signals the end of the open session of the meeting, and I'd like to move into a closed session. So can I please have a motion to move into closed session? Thanks, Councillor O'Brien. That's seconded by Councillor Redwood. Public, thank you for your time and attendance, and should you wish to return after the closed session, please feel free to wait around. Closed session. I declare that carried unanimously. Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously, and councillors, I welcome you back into the open session. We'll wait. There's frozen. Now, I'd like to invite the General Manager to read out the resolutions of the closed session of Council.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll try and be quick as I know you need to be somewhere. Item 15.1, 12-month extension option for bulk materials tender. Resolved by Council that endorse the variation of contract documentation relating to an option to extend for a further 12 months to 31st of October 2023 with the existing 6 contractors. Delegate to the General Manager or relevant Council financial delegate to authorise purchase orders based on the value scenarios and procurement strategies provided by this panel arrangement to the allowable budget. And C, finds the attached updated schedule of rates and conditions provided by contractors for the described 12-month extension fair and reasonable and is endorsed. Item 15.2, tender recommendation as it relates to the Jumeric Dam Ecotourism Development. Resolved by Council that endorse the tender recommendation from Public Works Authority to appoint J&C Group Indigenous Contractors Proprietary Limited for construction works tendered for the Jumeric Dam Ecotourism Development funded by the Bushfire Local Economic Recovery Fund. B, accept the fee estimates of $2,938,020 inclusive of GST by J&C Group Indigenous Contractors Proprietary Limited for construction works tendered for the Jumeric Dam Ecotourism Development funded by the Bushfire Local Economic Recovery Fund. And C, delegate authority to the General Manager to execute all relevant documents in relation to the engagement of the contractor and to delegate contract and financial management, including cases for variation as required. Item 15.3, heavy patching contract award to ARC locations for the 2022 to 2025 period. Resolved by Council that accept the submission submitted by Roadside Industries Proprietary Limited for $824,548.45 GST inclusive as quoted for the annual heavy patching works at numerous council locations for the period up to 2025 as per the technical, financial and best value for money recommendations of the ARC evaluation panel. B, delegate authority to the General Manager to approve expenditure for the project and contractor up to the upper limit of available budget for the next 3 financial years, they being 22-23, 23-24 and 24-25, and delegate authority to the General Manager to execute all documents in relation to the contract and to delegate contract and financial management, including cases for variation within Council accordingly. Item 15.4. The Regional Procurement Panel supply and delivery of bitumen emulsion for 2 years, period 1 January 23 to 31 December 24 with options to extend for a further 12 months. Resolved by Council that they endorse the panel of suppliers, negotiated rates and terms and conditions of the Regional Procurement Tender Panel for a period of 24 months from 1 January 23 to 31 December 24. A 12-month option for extension may be taken up based on satisfactory performance by the contractors. Delegate authority to the General Manager to approve expenditure for the project and contractor up to the available budget for various fit-for-purpose infrastructure or road projects for the next 2 financial years. And if the option is taken, would include 24-25 as provided. Delegate authority to the General Manager to execute all documents authority in relation to the contract and to delegate contract and financial management, including cases for variation within Council accordingly. And delegate authority to the General Manager to approve and accept a 12-month extension. Item 15.5, Pearl Investments Australia Proprietary Limited and Armidale Regional Council. Mel, you've got that there. Resolved. It's all good.
Mel's got it. Stream has crashed. I'll load the audio tomorrow.
Right, but can I get it up there?
So we don't have any audio that's being uploaded.
It's getting recorded there at the moment, but right now,
I have it there, but it's not moving. I can see you, but it's not there.
Okay. You might have to read it out.
Do you want to read it out?
Yeah.
Big loud voice.
Australia Proprietary Limited versus Armidale Regional Council resolved that A, agreeing to the granting of easements for council over the council-owned land that borders 4 Link Road, being lots 23 and 24 in DP 829599. Authorize the General Manager to enter into negotiations for compensation for the granting of the easement on a commercial basis. C, delegate authority to the General Manager to negotiate the terms of the easement and to sign all documents and take any other action necessary to grant the easements. And D, request the GM to enter into negotiations with Transport for New South Wales with the objective of reopening Link Road.
Thank you, Mel. Item 15.6, engagement of a consultant for Armidale Regional Council's water and wastewater services. Resolved by Council that they accept the tender submitted by Becker Hunter H2O, $197.13 an hour, weighted average as a sole provider for high-level consultancy services for ARC's water and wastewater area over the next 3 years and potentially up to a maximum term of engagement of 7 years. Delegate authority to the General Manager to approve expenditure up to the maximum contract value of $500,000 per year and delegate authority to the General Manager to execute all documents in relation to the contract. Item 15.7 is in relation to the curbside waste FOGO collection contract extension. Resolved by Council that Council note the report and refer it back to staff. And item 15.8, the General Manager's performance agreement. Resolved by Council that Council formally note the General Manager's performance Review Committee and General Manager James Ronkin have reached agreement with the assistance of Local Government New South Wales Management Services on the performance agreement of the Armidale Regional Council General Manager for the period 1 July 22 to 30 June 23, and B, adopt the General Manager performance agreement for the period of 1 July 22 to 30 June 23. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Terrific. There being no further business, I declare the meeting closed at 6:27 p.m.